Hello, and welcome to this video on presentation skills from the Department of Engineering Library, University of Cambridge. In this video we will cover the following points: telling your story, managing your time, planning, presenting with style, presenting with confidence, dealing with questions. We want to learn to avoid this. How many of you have seen something like this in presentations? The problem is that it's too cluttered, it's difficult to read, and too many colours and fonts make it hard to understand. A bad presentation can really damage your chances at getting the information you need across to your audience. Before you begin, ask yourself, why am I giving this presentation? Consider what you want the outcome of your presentation to be. Are you trying to persuade people to do something? Are you trying to teach them? Who is my audience? You need to think about who your audience actually are, as this will impact how you deliver your message. You also need to think about the level of knowledge they have on a subject. What message am I delivering? What's the one bit of knowledge that you want them to take away? And don't undersell yourself. Remember, you are the expert on your own research. Your presentation tells a story about your research. Like all good stories, it needs a beginning, introduce your research, a middle, explain what you did, and an end, discuss your results. When planning your presentation, you need to start with the key messages that you want to deliver and then build your presentation around it. Try to limit the messages to 3, otherwise you risk information overload. Anything which doesn't fit with the message doesn't belong in a presentation and needs to be taken out to prevent you from going off topic. Resist the temptation to put everything you know about a topic into your presentation. You want to avoid overloading your audience. Have you thought about your audience? If you're working on something really specialist, will people understand what you're trying to communicate to them? Take some time to break down any technical jargon so that non-experts can understand what you're talking about. Or just leave some space in your presentation for explanations. We all do it. We all have terms and acronyms that we work with every day, so much so that they become a second language, and we often forget that others might have no idea what we're talking about. In short presentations, timing is everything, and can make or break a presentation. Too little information and you're left with silence at the end. Too much and you'll overrun or have to skip over sections, which looks unprofessional. Know in advance how long you have to present and how long you have for questions. If you're presenting as a group, decide how to divide your labour. Who will be responsible for what part? How long will each section be? Rehearse your presentation with a timer set for how long you have. If you go over, you'll need to decide what to cut or edit down. Planning is the key to success. Draft your presentation based around your key messages and think about structure and flow. You have your key message and that can really help you to structure the rest of your presentation. Always keep that key message in the back of your mind. Keep it on a post-it note next to your computer. If something doesn't fit with your key message, then it doesn't need to be in your presentation. Be strict. Storyboard your presentation. This works quite well if you're a visual planner. It sounds obvious, but you need to have a logical flow to your presentation, a beginning, a middle, and an end. At the end, summarise your presentation and reiterate your top takeaway messages. Always leave room for questions, but don't feel this has to be the very last thing you do. You can ask for feedback as you go through if you're comfortable with that, but it can disrupt your flow. If you want to wait until the end of the presentation, then have it as the second to last thing. This means that you can leave the audience with a good final impression. Leave them with the message you want to leave them with. Design is not an add-on to your presentation. It's part of how you tell your story. The style and design of slides or visual aids shapes the overall feel of your presentation, and slides also help you to keep on track. The really basic stuff that goes almost without saying are think about your font size. Fonts are great if used well, but limit them to about 3 per slide. Any more is distracting. Any smaller than a size 24 text and you're putting too much text on the slide. Remember, this is a visual aid, not a document in its own right. If you're trying to put more than around 50 words on a slide, you're writing a handout, not a presentation. Think about your colour choices. Certain colours just don't belong together and others make text harder to read. Think about accessibility issues for people who may be colourblind. If you have to use animation to make a point, do it with as little fuss as possible. If you need to display some data, make sure it's relevant, clear, and easy to read. Don't have something that you have to say, You can't see on this graph, but the results show. Sans serif fonts, such as Calibri and Arial, are much more readable than serif fonts, such as Times New Roman. Fonts like Comic Sans are best saved for personal, not professional use. One slide equals one idea. Don't overload your slides. Having one key idea per slide makes it easy for your audience to follow and helps you to pace your presentation well. Avoid the wall of doom. The wall of doom, or wall of text, is what happens when you put far too much text on a slide. It's overwhelming and distracting. There's no point in just reading out a huge amount of text from a slide. The point of a presentation isn't just to read a paper. And if your audience are trying to read your slides, then they won't be listening to what it is that you're saying. Bullet points can help break down complex information into simple keywords or ideas, but if used on every slide, they can look crowded, monotonous, and repetitive. If you are using bullet points, keep them short and don't draw them out of multiple lines. A well thought out graph or figure can be an effective way of displaying information at a glance, and can communicate more than a wall of text. But it's worth thinking about what type of chart or graph is best to convey your data, because a poorly used graph can be off-putting. Images can help break up text on a slide. Use them to reinforce a point or as a visual metaphor. Remember to source Creative Commons images. Not every image that you find on the internet can be legally used. You want to avoid this. Watermarks and pixelated images look seriously unprofessional. Everyone is nervous before a presentation. You can help yourself by being prepared, taking some time to relax, even if that means taking 10 seconds to breathe before starting. Think about your body language. You might be terrified inside, but try not to show it on the outside. Don't fold your arms, as it's a defensive position and will close you off to your audience, whether you mean to or not. If you're presenting from a podium, you can use it to hide your shaking knees to start with, but don't be afraid to move around either. Keep your body language open and smile. If you find a friendly face in the audience, present to them, or even better, find a few spots in the audience, left, centre, right, and move between looking at those points throughout your presentation. Does someone have a cool hair colour? Are they wearing an interesting top? Whatever it is, use those points to keep engaging with your audience, and don't spend too long looking at your notes or at your own slides. Would you be comfortable presenting without a script? Now, this is an entirely personal choice, but it comes back to that eye contact and engagement with your audience. If you're buried in your notes and don't look up at all, then you've lost your audience before you've even begun. You could have notes on your slides and see them in presenter mode, but I would recommend that you try to present without a script, or possibly even without notes, wherever you can. That way your speech is more free, and you're able to use your hands to gesture and be more natural when presenting. It is scary, but you can do it with practice and a good knowledge of your subject matter. Be prepared and know your material. This will help you to anticipate the questions you are likely to get. Don't be afraid to admit that you don't know, but do offer to find a solution. Try to be clear but brief. You can always check if you've answered their question when they've finished. Don't be afraid to clarify the question. And make sure the rest of the audience heard the question, and if necessary, repeat it for them. This means that the audience know what you're talking about, and it gives you extra thinking time. What happens when things go wrong? The most important thing to do is keep calm. The easiest way to prevent disaster is to prepare beforehand. Make sure the technology is working, check it is compatible with what you want to do, scope out the room so you know the layout and feel more comfortable. Have a backup plan. Have your slides saved in different places, or have a paper copy for real disasters. Chances are something might go wrong. It's how you handle it that makes the difference. And remember, the audience won't always know there's been a problem unless you let it show. Be clear about what you are meant to be doing. Keep your slides concise and your main points. And practice, practice, practice. Thank you for watching this video. For help at any point, contact the Engineering Library team at library@eng.cam.ac.uk.